This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. There's a rather noted musical called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. In real life, it rarely works that way. More often, it's how to succeed in business by trying really hard. We hope to help you on that journey. This hour and every week, you'll hear from successful entrepreneurs, business professionals, community leaders, our own team of experts, sharing experiences, successes, setbacks, suggestions to help you succeed. We have 7 segments that cover the things you'll need to know as you start and grow your own business. We're here every Sunday morning on Wish TV and the live stream on wishtv.com. You can also see much of our content and share it on demand anytime, beoshow.com. Our site grows every week with new stories and resources. Try our podcast. You can listen at your convenience. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, and we update it every Tuesday. Let's get to work. Here's what's coming up today on Business, Equity, and Opportunity. Financial coach and author Liz Davidson tells us why it pays for employers to make sure workers are money strong. A local company aims to take stress out of the workplace through innovation. A brand new brigadier general shares how the Army handles its finances. A cybersecurity firm explains the benefits of having an apprentice program. And we'll share a truly powerful success story. First, we're getting started by meeting one of the voices to be featured this week at the International Women's Day event hosted by the Indiana Commission for Women.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
Stephanie Bothan is the Vice President of Consulting for Ascend Indiana, the talent initiative of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. She's recently been named a 2023 Presidential Leadership Scholar.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be asked to join the Conference for Women by the Indiana Commission for Women to talk more about some of the struggles and challenges that women face, and particularly in light of the pandemic. I'm on the Learn panel, which is near and dear to my heart. We're focused on how do we make sure that women are getting access to the education and the programs that are needed to continue to grow our economy. So Ascend Indiana is the talent and workforce initiative of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, and we spend our days thinking about how to make Indiana a place of economic opportunity for all. We do that in 3 ways. We have an innovative talent matching platform called the Ascend Network, and it helps individuals find jobs. We also have a team of people called Ascend Services that help to build employer and education talent pipelines and bring those 2 groups together. And then the third piece is we learn a lot about our labor market during that work, and so we do research and publish that back out to the community so we can make better decisions about the programs that we build. All again with an eye towards making Indiana a place of economic opportunity for all. So one program that I am just thrilled to talk about that really supports a diverse range of businesses, small, medium, and large, is called Modern Apprenticeship. It's a 3-year work-based learning program that allows our young people, our high school students, to get connected to a business, do real work for you as a business owner, while you're helping them figure out what's the certificate, what's the college credit, and what's the path that they can be on. These are paid experiences because we believe from an equity perspective that if our students are doing real work for our businesses, then they should get paid for that. But in turn, since you're paying them, we make sure that it's a productive experience for you. Yeah, so I went to Switzerland in 2019 and I saw a completely different education system where there's not just one path to success. They have multiple paths where students can work, they can learn, or they can do a combination of those things through an apprenticeship. And when I came back to Indianapolis, I was different. I saw the world differently, and I thought we've created one main path, but only 25% of our students go on that path to college. So we needed another system where students could have options, they could work, learn, and earn at the same time, and be able to then get access to that good and promising job. So when I came back, we started the apprenticeship program, and it has just blossomed since 2020. As I mentioned before, we have dozens of employers and students who are interested. What's been really exciting though is I was recently selected as a Presidential Leadership Scholar, which is 60 individuals from across the country, and we're focused on solving some of our nation's most difficult and pressing problems. And so when we think about path to opportunity for our young people and their disconnection and the fact that they aren't getting access to these good jobs, I'm talking a lot with that group and with experts from around the country about what is it that we can do to create the system that gives our young people more options. And so it's been really exciting. It's a lot of traction across the country. Every community, we're not unique in Indiana that only a small fraction of our young people are getting that college education and ultimately getting that good job. So I can't wait to see what comes out of it, because I believe by leveraging the minds and the expertise of folks all around the country through this fellowship, and by making the right connections to individuals that are doing work in the youth space and in the workforce space, that we are going to propel the message of youth apprenticeship, not just in Indiana, but across the country. Ascend and Employ Indy recently released a labor market report. And in that report, we were looking at what impact has the pandemic had on our labor force. And if you look across all the different demographics, men versus women, race, and class, what you find is that pre-pandemic, we've been making a lot of progress for women. They'd been participating at higher levels in the workforce. And throughout the pandemic, on the backside, women are the only segment of the labor market that have not recovered to pre-pandemic levels. So in terms of what we can do about it, what I'm going to encourage folks to think about at the panel is we have a lot of educated women. So how do we focus on understanding where there's flexibility within jobs and within the workforce? We want women to access the resources that exist in our community, like the Ascend Network, like the workforce boards, like their educational institutions, so that we can overcome the barriers like childcare or transportation, and they can participate fully in the workforce. I've been really fortunate to have strong women actually support me throughout my career, whether it was when I was a finance major in college at the Kelley School, thinking that I was gonna go into finance and go into corporate America, or when I actually started my career here in Indianapolis, I did a program called Teach for America. And our current superintendent of Indianapolis Public Schools, Alicia Johnson, she actually was my mentor in that program. And she helped me understand how important it is to give back to our community and to raise each other up as we're figuring that out. So I started my career here in Indy doing teaching. And then I went into the corporate sector for a little while doing consulting, actually in talent and human resources, which is a passion of mine. And coming out of that, I knew I wanted to give back to the community, use those skills of talent in HR and be able to give back to the community. So I went to work for a previous mayor, Mayor Gregory A. Ballard, and I worked on his education team for a number of years. That's how I met Jason Kloth, who's the current CEO of Ascend Indiana. And during the time in the mayor's office, I worked on early childhood education. So I saw the real challenges. We actually put together a public-private partnership during that experience to help more 3- and 4-year-olds from low-income families go to high-quality preschool. It can unlock doors for opportunity that we can't even imagine just going to early childhood. So after working at a city level, we were starting to say, okay, we're working so hard on early childhood, we're working so hard in K through 12 to get our students across the graduation stage, but what are we doing on the back end? How do we make sure that after they graduate K through 12 that they get connected to our wonderful opportunities here in Indiana? And that's why the seed for Ascend was really born. The idea of how do we take all of this talent and make sure that they're actually connected to the internships and jobs that exist within our community. So I heard our Secretary for Education speak at an event last week, and she was mentioning how we have 75% of our students that graduate from high school, they intend to go to post-secondary. That's their plan when they walk across the graduation stage. We only get 53% of them to college. If those students want a chance at a good or a promising job, they have to have some level of post-secondary education. We lose 15,000 students from the second they graduate that we now no longer know what they're going to do or how they're going to be able to get access to that job. What gives me energy at work is thinking about how do we close these gaps of economic opportunity for different populations? How do we help that high school student who's very eager and excited, but maybe hasn't found their voice yet? They haven't found their path or their confidence. We have a student, Kanaya, in our youth apprenticeship program, who, when we found her sophomore year, she had a difficult home life. She wasn't confident in who she was. She didn't know if college was going to be a path for her. After starting an apprenticeship, she now has done valuable work for her employer. She thinks Indiana could be a wonderful place to call home. She has a scholarship to college, and she actually got to speak to our Department of Labor Secretary, Marty Walsh. I mean, she has found her voice and found her passion and path. And when I think about being able to replicate that for students across our city and around our state, I can't think of something I'd rather spend my time doing than creating that opportunity for those individuals.
The panel event is Wednesday. If you'd like more information about it or anything that helps you get started, we have all of our topics on BEOshow.com. If you have a question for us, email us, beo@wishtv.com. Coming up later, how good mental health in the workplace may save the state billions. But first, advice from Liz Davidson, an innovator in helping business owners and employees find financial wellness. Stay with us.
Getting Started, made possible by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. In Access to Capital today, every day we talk money. Today the conversation centers on making sure it's a source of freedom rather than stress. Our guest helped innovate an entire concept, coaching people at their jobs to take control of their own dollars and cents destiny.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. Access to Capital.
Liz Davidson is the founder and CEO of Financial Finesse, a company that works with employers to provide financial counseling to their employees. She's also an author. Her new book is Money Strong, Your Guide to a Life Free of Financial Worries. Thanks for being with us. A huge topic to tackle. I want to jump in with my interpretation of what it is I think that you do in the big picture, and then what we're trying to accomplish with the book. So see if I've got the right read on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Essentially, you want and you do help employers let their employees learn some financial wellness, fitness, through the company in many times. And you do it not to sell those employees something to profit on their profits, but it seems like for no ulterior motive. Is that the right read? And how did you come up with that concept?
So lots of questions there, but it's absolutely the right read. The way we sustain ourselves, because obviously, we're a mission-based business, but we have to fund that mission, is employers pay us as an employee benefit. So it's fully subsidized by the employer. And what we do is provide unlimited personal financial coaching to the entire employee base. So anyone can access the coaching at any time, work with the same coach, and progressively improve their finances. Back in the 90s, late 90s, it was very much about serving the wealthy and helping the wealthy become wealthier, because you made money off of, the assets you managed, and the more assets, the more money. And I really realized, my God, there's such a huge gap. I'm working with really probably was working with the top 1% to 3%, of Americans from a net worth standpoint. What about everyone else? This was during the .com era. And I was watching these people that I was talking to and that were investing in the fund I had make what I thought were major mistakes, because kind of see it was a bubble. And I was thinking, what about all these other people that are borrowing against stock options they may have? Because, everything was just crazy back then. They could lose everything. There's so much out there that was just not being addressed. And I was like, you know what, if I don't try this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So I left a very lucrative business to try something completely unprecedented and crazy. And everyone told me I was, committing financial suicide for myself. But I had to try, and I'm very, very glad I did. 24 years later.
Yeah, and clearly that risk has paid off for you. You talk a little bit about risk in the book, and I presume in the in-person coaching that you do as well. In the book, threaded throughout is this concept of START. Each letter starting with each line, each concept. Kind of walk us through the overview of that.
Yeah, so START is a framework. So each letter has a purpose. It starts, no pun intended, with setting yourself up for financial success. And this is really making sure you have the right environment, that you understand your triggers, that you surround yourself with the right people that are going to advance your financial security, and do everything you can to protect yourself a little bit from yourself. You automate things so you don't have to make proactive financial decisions that are in your best interest. You adopt a financial identity similar to a healthy lifestyle identity so that you're kind of automating that decision making and you don't do things that don't fit within that identity. The next is tackle your financial stress. It's about understanding what's causing it, tackling it, and then managing the emotions associated with it, because you can get in a spiral where negative emotions associated with financial stress cause worse decision making. Advance toward the life you want. So this is, and we talked about this right before the show, this is all about what do you really want, doing a deep dive on what you really want, and then setting those goals and investing appropriately, saving appropriately. Role model is the next step. Role model positive financial habits and behaviors, because when you do that, you are so much more likely to stick to your progress and continue it, and you're paying it forward, and nothing feels better than being a mentor to others in need. And then the last thing, and it's the whole purpose of money, is thrive by living your purpose. We used to think money was about acquisition and status and material things. Then we got into Instagram and social media, and it became about experiences and lifestyle. But really, money is about the freedom to live life on your own terms and to not be beholden to relationships, jobs, or other things that you have to do for money that don't align with your personal values, happiness, integrity.
The book is Money Strong. The author is Liz Davidson. She is our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Coming up later this hour, an Army Brigadier General has tips on running your business finances with some military precision. But first, a look at this week in business when Business Equity and Opportunities returns. Welcome back. It is time to talk This Week in Business and a new partnership between Indianapolis Metropolitan Police and tech company Peak Mind aims to use virtual reality and artificial intelligence to help officers manage the stress of an intense line of work.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
Dr. Alicia McCoy is the founder and CEO of Peak Mind, an app aimed at improving the well-being of employees in the workplace.
Peak Mind is disrupting stress in the workplace. Specifically here, we're trying to help lower stress for officers, police officers in our community. Indiana is doing great things to support our small business. We recently won the Indiana Innovation Voucher. It's able to support us having location here in the grant or in the building, having access to the 5G technologies here inside the Advanced Communications Lab. Our hardware runs on 5G technology so that it has low latency speed as we process data. This is a first of its kind partnership with IMPD, the police force here in Indianapolis. And so we have currently 55 officers coming. We have capacity up to 100. And so we have new officers joining once they hear about the great work and the stress relief tools that we have here. And so each day before and after shift, we have officers that come into the lab. So first we're having them when they come in, we're analyzing if they need support or motivating them for their day, giving them tools to cope for the shift ahead. Then when they come in after shift, depending on what events may have occurred, the trauma, acute stress from the day, we're decompressing them with the goal to release the valve, right? To release the stress that was built up from the day so that they don't take it home to their families and their loved ones.
So IMPD has one of the most robust wellness programs in the state, if not the country. We have a full team that's dedicated full-time to officer wellness. Most of that focuses on mental health and trying to find opportunities to help officers after they've been involved in crisis situations, to reduce stress, to make them better performers as officers, as family members, and as members of our community. So this opportunity came along for us to see if we can develop a tool to find out what types of opportunities there are, what type of tools there are to reduce officer stress on a daily basis and then potentially following a crisis situation. So far, some of the feedback that I've had is very positive. Officers saying they come in, particularly after work, they can decompress, just relax, and then they decompress and then they go home, as opposed to going home and then having to do that decompression there with their family. Well, long term, we don't know, because that's what this study is going to do. We're going to identify what types of tools are available, and speaking with the staff here, trying to find out how do we make this accessible to our officers on a regular basis, because there's certainly funding that goes into it, and there has to be justification that it works and that there's a benefit to our officers, to our department, and to the community. Our hope that if our officers are less stressed, that when they go out and they're engaging with the public, that they're not bringing that stress with them. I want to thank Peak Mind for offering this opportunity to our agency. I think they've recognized the emphasis that we put on mental health and on wellness, officer wellness. And so hopefully this is just another step forward in IMPD's commitment to making sure that our officers are in a healthy space. This is an opportunity where the community and the private sector can come and work with IMPD to help improve our officers, improve their mental health, their total wellness, and ultimately we want that to translate into a better benefit to our community.
If you have a brain, you have stress. Stress does not discriminate, unfortunately. And so we all have the capacity to store that stress. And we know that 80% of disease is caused by stress. The Surgeon General in the United States says that stress in the workplace is one of his top 5 pillars. So he knows that it's a public safety crisis, that we have to disrupt stress in the workplace. And Peak Mind is really trying to lean into the companies that have the most stress. Can you consider how many events, traumatic events that law enforcement officers have each day? They're not the only industry, and so we would love to try. It's our mission to empower as many people as we can to thrive. I invented the concept of Peak Mind back in 2015. I had spent about 10 years at that point being a business owner, and one thing I constantly saw as a corporate interior designer is that no amount of beautification that we did in a workplace is going to change the well-being of employees. It helps, but pretty paint and carpet and good ergonomic chairs only goes so far. And I started to ask myself, what more can we do to help employees to thrive beyond just building a beautiful building? And really it was something mental well-being. And so I started down the path of understanding how do we store mental well-being 3 to 5 minute moments into a software, which is what we created. Peak Mind is a software with hardware integration. So whether you use a hardware or a wearable that watches and monitors your heart rate or your blood pressure or those other stress indicators like pupillometry or cognitive load, that is great. It feeds into our AI-powered software. Or you can just log into the software and read about a 3-minute moment of how do you decompress if you're not feeling seen, heard, or valued in the workplace. Because a lot of stress comes from that, not feeling heard, not feeling like you have a place to belong, those type of things. So the future of Peak Mind is international. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Stress, we want to help as many employees across the world as we can. Maybe it's my Miss America moment, right? World peace, but stress is at the core of all disruption and trauma and aggravation in the world. And if we can start to disrupt that little by little, start in the moments that matter today. There's tens of thousands of moments that we have the ability to either stress or to thrive. And we want to empower people to thrive and not stay stuck in those moments of stress. I was nominated for a TechPoint Mira Award for product innovation category, so we're super thrilled to be nominated, and hopefully in the next month we take home the trophy. Peak Mind has been available. Our software we created in January of 2020, so we have current customers using that. The hardware we just integrated, and so the wearable we're testing out in labs like this here at the Advanced Communications Lab, but the hardware is also available for purchase off the shelf. Well, I think all business owners find stress in our own lives. It's lonely at the top, or it's hard to run a business. And so stress doesn't discriminate against me as well. I created Peak Mind, I say, because I was user number 1, right? I need to empower myself to thrive each day. I need to empower my own employees to thrive. Otherwise, my business is never going to succeed. Our lifeblood of companies is our people, our employees, and we have to empower them to thrive in their moments of stress. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see disengagement. We're going to continue to see sick days increase. 12% of the United States GDP is lost to sick and unproductive workers. That doesn't, skip me. It affects all companies. It's just a matter of how much will it affect your company. Action. It's all about action. There's enough data out there that proves that there's an issue, but what are we doing about it, and how do we make it accessible and easy for employees to take action? And so we're mobile reactive, so on your phone you can look at our 3 to 5 minute action steps, take a survey, engage to get feedback and help yourself, or on the computer or through our hardware.
This Week in Business is made possible by InnoPower. Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results.
Coming up, a local cybersecurity firm that's looking for apprentices. First, though, we speak to a brand new U.S. Brigadier General about how the Army pays. We return to duty after this break. This is Business Equity and Opportunities, and our time to talk accounting and bookkeeping. As the home of the Army Finance Center, located at Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indianapolis has earned a reputation as the city that pays the Army. We talked to the top officer and got some wisdom you may be able to use too.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, accounting and bookkeeping.
Newly promoted Brigadier General Paige Jennings is the commanding officer for the Army's Financial Management Command, headquartered in Indianapolis.
The Army and everybody that we do, and you can take all Department of Defense, all services, once we get all of our money from Congress, our command here, which is really unique because we are really the only service that has a command like U.S. Army Financial Management Command. And we are really that bridge that helps the Army take in their money, expend it, pay people, pay vendors, and really keeps the Army running. And you have, a lot of it's done in the Pentagon, but then you have a lot of other agencies, and we really bridge the Pentagon and the agencies and the operations that are right down on the battlefield from the units that are doing it. Every year, all the services through the Office of Secretary of Defense, they submit up the budgets, and each service submits their own budget up. It goes up. In fact, it's getting ready to happen here in the next couple weeks. So the Army will submit its President's Budget Request portion. All goes up. And then over the next several months, they will go through the process, and Congress does their process as they look through the authorizations and the appropriations. Once we finally do get the National Defense Authorization Act, once that's finally passed, and then you get the Appropriations Act passed, then it comes down through the Office of Management and Budget, comes down to the, actually it's called the Office Secretary of Defense Comptroller, and then they will divvy it up to all of the different services, and from there, within the Pentagon, the Army Budget Office has to deliver it to all the different organizations, and it just goes downstream from there. A lot of the processes are very similar, right? When you start to talk about accountability, stewardship, using things in the right and the legal way, I think the biggest difference for the services versus a commercial entity is a lot of the money we get or the appropriations we get are for very specific purposes as authorized and appropriated by Congress. And I would say they have a life on them. So some of them can only be used for 1 year, right? Some of them can be used to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years, which is different than the commercial entity, right? Because they are about making the money and then using it continually. That is what makes it a little more complex for us, because not only do you have to make sure you're using it legally and appropriately, but you have to use it within that appropriate time frame. There's multiple ways that you can come in to become into the Army, right? You can enlist, or you can go and become an officer. And if you choose to become an officer, you really have probably 3 or 4 distinct paths. You're going to go to a service academy, and this could be at any of their services. So for the Army, it's West Point. You could go through the Reserve Officer Training Corps, where you go to a university and you go through 2, 3, 4 years. And at the end of that, you come out and you're commissioned a second lieutenant, just like when you come out of the academy. Or if you enlist in the Army, you can go through what they call Officer Candidate School, and you apply. You go through a process, and then you go through and you have to have your bachelor's degree. And when you come out on the other end, you will be a second lieutenant. There's also a couple times where you can go what they call green to gold, where an enlisted service member has not finished their bachelor's degree, but they will go to a university and they will finish it there, and it's kind of similar to the ROTC. It's one of those opportunities. And so for me, I explored all options, but ultimately I went through the Reserve Officer Training Corps and came through that program and then was commissioned a second lieutenant. Finance and Comptroller Corps, which is the branch I belong to, we're the smallest branch in the Army. And so when you look at it, There's myself and one other, a good friend of mine, who are right now in the process, have just gotten promoted to Brigadier General. Within the history of our Corps, we are the number 3 and number 4 generals for finance for females. So that's pretty significant. But then when you look, we have about 230 generals overall within the Army, and a very small, probably at any one time, usually less than 25 are females. So it's pretty significant for that aspect. So right now, like I said, we have 2 of us.
To learn more about accounting and bookkeeping or any of the topics we tackle here, visit beoshow.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter. We update it every Tuesday with something new. Don't forget to subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast so you can listen whenever you want. Coming up, our industry focus. Next, though, how you can enter the field of cybersecurity as an apprentice. More Business Equity and Opportunities on the other side of this break. On Business Equity and Opportunities, we always talk about running your business day to day. There is a booming business in keeping technology safe from negligence, attacks, and more. The need creates an opportunity for those who are interested and gives the chance to start as an apprentice.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
Jeremy Miller is the CEO of Lionfish Cyber Security. As the field of cybersecurity and the risks to business grow, the field needs highly trained people to manage the risk and keep information safe.
Hackers know they don't have security. It's easy to get in, it's easy to get out. I was just up at Hamilton County the other day, and the kids were coming up because we have a program up there right now teaching cybersecurity. And they were like, well, what is cybersecurity? I said, well, think of it like this. You're at home, you leave all your windows open, your doors, your garage door, and you leave. Do you expect nobody to walk in and take your stuff? No, they're gonna see it's wide open, they come take it. It's the same way with cybersecurity. We just can't see it. So doing that, and then we built a whole apprenticeship program to topple into our, not topple, but to work integrated into all of these steps. So now we're working on with universities to bring our system into their classroom to teach college kids, right? Cybersecurity, hygiene, compliance, and then we can get them out there as an intern or an apprentice, working real world stuff, doing on-the-job training with the local community, right? We can't do all the services, right? We can't do all the training, but we can provide a platform for others to do it, and that's what we want to do. I'll give you one example of why this process will work in the cybersecurity realm. Well, first of all, cybersecurity it's guerrilla warfare. It's unconventional, right? Nobody knows how to fight it very well except for the professionals. C-suites don't even understand how to deal with it, and they listen to their professionals for bigger companies, and sometimes they weren't even wanting to give them the money to defend it, right? So that was a problem. But now that's coming away. People are having to do it. Cyber insurance, all these things. So that is really what Lionfish is about, is how can we bring an ecosystem together where everybody plays nice and we actually accomplish this mission of saving some of these, all of the companies if we can, right? But not all of them are gonna listen, unfortunately, right? Until something bad happens. And we get back to, well, what's really going on in this industry, right? But yeah, that's what Lionfish is about, and that's what we've done.
Later, we'll hear the constructive success story of Powers & Sons. First, though, it'll be our industry focus. More Business Equity and Opportunities after we do some business with you.
Grow your business with Wish TV's featured business directory. For less than $200 a month, be one of the limited businesses in 30 different categories, benefiting from one of the top visited websites in Indiana and Indiana's only statewide news station. Space is limited. Contact us today.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. Time for our industry focus. As we begin Women's History Month, we turn our focus to women's health with a visit to Eskenazi Hospital.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. Industry Focus.
Dr. Elizabeth Ferries-Rowe is the chief of Eskenazi Health Obstetrics and Gynecological Services and a leading figure in women's health care in Indianapolis.
I think some of the challenges are to be honest, the fracturing into a notion of women's health, right? Like, women are everywhere. and patients on the gender spectrum are everywhere and in need of gynecologic services. And I think one thing that I hope to do in this role, that I try to do in this role, is to empower non-OBGYNs to feel comfortable taking care of women and patients who need gynecologic care, rather than feeling as though it's not a place that they're welcome. And so I think recognizing that, 50% of your patients, give or take, regardless of specialty, unless, you take care of prostates, are gonna be women. And so making it so that the care of women is considered an integral part of all of medical care, I think, is an important part of that. I think there are challenges with reimbursement, which make it difficult. And that's one of the things that, on the ACOG side, we try and advocate for. I think recognizing the role of prenatal care and adequate care for all pregnant patients is an entry for those patients into medical care, but also for their children and their families. And so prioritizing the care of women, practically speaking, is a way to prioritize the care of all people in a family, right? Like, as someone who has to struggle to get my husband to a doctor, like, women are often in families the ones who help to engage with the medical system. So I think that's one of the challenges, is figuring out how to make that a comfortable environment for all patients. There are still challenges in terms, as in every field, in terms of disproportionate pay. I think it continues to be a struggle for women in leadership, even more so for women of color. And so being cognizant of those challenges and trying to utilize any relationships that I may have to help address those and kind of help create opportunities for others, I think, is important. There are absolutely more women physicians than ever, right? I think medical schools often have more than 50% of their students are women. But in leadership roles, it's still very disproportionately men. And so that's the challenge that's facing women in medicine right now, is to figure out how we advocate for ourselves, how we partner with others, to create more equity in the leadership that reflects makeup of the physicians providing care. I think figure out what it is that you love about medicine and create a job path that optimizes that, right? If what you love is delivering babies, then find a job where you deliver babies. And that can be hard, because especially when you start out, there's a sense of like, I have to take what's offered to me because this is the opportunity that's here. And there's a fear that if you say no, people won't ask again. And so figuring out how to balance taking the opportunities that come with the rest of your life is very important. I struggle a little bit with the concept of work-life balance. It's a big buzzword, right? But what does that mean? Your work and your life are the same thing. It's not like you drop work and come home and do the rest of your life and like have to sort of balance the scales at the end of the day. It's really more about how you integrate all aspects of your life, which is your family life and your work life and your exercise and your hobbies and whatever it is that, that helps keep you balanced. And so for me, I think it is about always, if I were to talk to an incoming female physician, I would say find what it is that you love about the job and prioritize that. And does that mean that sometimes you'll do things that you don't love? Yeah, it does, right? Like, there are lots of times that you have to put in work that you don't love to do the part that you do love. And it's okay to do that as well. But kind of always keep that one nugget in mind, that this is why I do this for a living, and make sure that kind of is prioritized. And that's your kids too, right? And that's your husband too, and that's your parents, and that's your dog who needs a walk. And it's about how to figure out all of those things in the day. But if you can get to the end of the day and be like, you know what, today here's a good example. Today I delivered a couple babies, did a lovely interview. I'm gonna go help my husband coach high school speech, because I did high school speech, and there's a female student who asked for some help with that. And then I'm gonna come home and, make dinner and watch TV and go to bed. And if you can have a day where you get to deliver babies and coach speech and spend time with your kids, like, that's a good day. And so I think it's about trying to figure out how to integrate that in every day.
If you'd like more about the industry focus or any of the segments you've seen on today's show, go to beoshow.com. When we come back, we have a success story truly full of power. You're watching Business, Equity, and Opportunity. Stay with us.
Every business is unique, and every business has a target audience. Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble to reach a customer base that spans the globe. Pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. No matter the size of your business, put Circulus Digital Media to work for you and get results.
Welcome again to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. We wrap things up with our success story. Since 1967, Powers & Sons has been a leader in corporate construction and occasionally demolition. Company led the implosion of Market Square Arena.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Success Story.
Mammon Powers III grew up in the construction industry and spent many summers in high school and college working in the family business. He serves as president now, the Indianapolis operation, and executive VP of Powers & Sons.
So from the very beginning, it all started from my grandfather, who founded our business in 1967. And back then there were no MBE or XBE programs. The reason we started our business is to build homes for the African American community. And so as we built homes for the African American community, those neighborhoods needed gas stations and libraries, and so we continued to build in that community, which then helped us to grow into a commercial contractor that we are today. We were fortunate to be a part of some early government programs that allowed us to get outside of our community, and we were able to do work in all parts of Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, which then allowed us to start to open up offices in different locations. And so that's how we have our 3 offices today: Indianapolis, Northwest Indiana, and Chicago. Our community is what gave us the support to start us and to help us be successful. And so it's always been in our DNA to support the communities in which we serve. So we are very passionate about being part of different philanthropic efforts as well as volunteer. And so in the communities in which we're in, we do a lot for food insecurities. We in the education space, we give a lot of scholarships for at-need base as well as construction-related And so it's very important for us to give back to the community. Early on, my grandfather was encouraged by my grandmother to start the business we have, and it was called Powers and Sons Construction, but it was probably her vision for the future because the oldest son was only 18, so they weren't fully in the business. So I think it was her vision for it to be her sons to get involved at one point. And she was very instrumental in starting our business. However, back then with the times that we're in, she wasn't fully written into the corporate documents, but you can tell that she definitely influenced and had her part in putting them all together and making the company, creating the company. Yeah, I think whether it's from a women perspective or a minority perspective, we're really passionate about making sure that we're giving folks opportunities to be in the construction industry, regardless of race or gender. And so, yes, that is a passion of ours to give opportunities to both women, men, and all races. Yeah, it's pretty awesome being a third generation family business and carrying on that legacy, especially with the Hallmark project we're able to be a part of right now, being the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be on a presidential library. So it has been surreal, especially, he's come to visit the site once already. So it's pretty awesome when you get that kind of attention on your construction project. So our purpose that we really have is to be a good contractor and to show that just because we're a minority contractor doesn't mean we can't be recognized as our fellow competitors as just a good contractor. So we really strive to be the best contractor and to show that we can do everything our majority competitors can do.
If you need more information or inspiration, find it on our website, beoshow.com. You can find the past segments from our show of each of our 7 weekly topics. Listen and subscribe to our Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Sign up for our newsletter. Again, we update it every Tuesday. And if you have questions or you have your own success story to share, send us an email at beo@wishtv.com. We're here every Sunday morning on Wish TV, or you can stream the show live through wishtv.com. We will be back next week with more Business Equity and Opportunities. For now, I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for watching.
Business, Equity, and Opportunities is made possible by Indiana Economic Development Corporation and InnoPower.